What's up everyone, China Cycling back with another factory tour, but today is going to be the biggest one. Today we're at Magene's brand new mega factory. This place is absolutely huge. You guys know Magene, they're the makers of power meters and smart trainers and all this cycling tech, and I've brought a guy who knows a thing or two about cycling tech as well.
Have you seen the size of this place? Just a little bit bigger than the Llama Lab.
Let's check it out. This video would not have been possible without Magene's sponsorship, flying me to Qingdao to look around their brand new facility. And the size of that facility cannot be overstated. There's even a road that goes through the middle of the factory to help them with loading and unloading their goods. It also proved to be a good little loop for testing their bikes. Cool, so I have this fully decked out Magene bike with basically all of Magene products, the GPS head unit, crank power meter, pedal power meter, radar, wheels, electronic group set. Let's see how to make this stuff. Most of you know Magene from their turbo trainers, including me. From 2016 to the present day, Magene has released a total of 8 smart trainers, evolving from built-in physical power meter models to modern virtual power models. And from electromagnetic resistance to self-powered permanent magnet synchronous motor models. Now what most of you probably don't know, however, is that Magene rules the Chinese trainer market with over 80% of the market share here. Now most people in China do their very first FTP test on a Magene smart trainer, and now Magene are the largest cycling power equipment supplier in the world. Okay, so check out the funky eyewear and the cool shoe protectors, because we are on the factory floor, safety first, all that stuff. On the factory floor, there were hundreds of tons of raw materials. These materials were being cut up by laser cutters before being handed over to the robotic welding machines. Okay, so here we have 7 robotic welding machines. So once they've cut the pieces of the frame up into sections, they've got to weld them together, and for that they use these automatic welding robots. So the screen doors are closed, obviously to protect our eyes, but to the side here you can see some of the pieces that have come out. So on these pieces here, for example, these little rings have been welded on, these end caps have been welded on, and every single one is welded exactly the same because it's all done by robot, all automated. So yeah, super simple, super fast. Obviously, a bike trainer frame doesn't have to be that precise, but it's good to see they're keeping an eye on it. Here we have some more simple CNC machines, and these machines are just cutting the holes and making the holes in here all down to better tolerances, so when it all goes together, everything fits better basically. So yeah, these banks of machines just doing the basic CNCing on the trainer frames. Also, one thing I like about these machines is the name of the machines. This one's called the Panda 1370. Obviously big fans of pandas on the channel, so you can't go wrong with a panda. Yeah, actually as we were just walking through, I just saw a forklift truck come in and drop off these brand new machines. So yeah, they're still increasing their production capacity, even though it's already huge, not big enough apparently. So yeah, new CNC machines being added all the time. Okay, so this is where they do the flywheels for the trainers, but this is also highly automated. So they have the raw flywheels over there that come in, machined pretty accurately, but not amazingly. They get loaded up into this system up here. So as you can see on these rails at the top, they take the flywheels, automatically drop them off into these CNC machines. I guess they're lathes. They lathe out the flywheels. Once it's finished, it goes back up on the conveyor belt, automatically goes down and gets dropped off over here on this machine. From this machine, again, goes into this machine automatically, and this is a machine that does the final balancing. So on these ones down here, which have been balanced, I don't know if you'll be able to see, but some have 2 holes, some have 3 holes, some have 4 holes, and some have no holes, because it goes in the balance machine. They find the lightest point, the heaviest point, and basically the heaviest point of the flywheel, they drill some holes to make it lighter and perfectly balance the flywheel. So all that's done by this machine, all automated. As you can see, just these things just constantly coming off the production line, and yeah, that's how you get your perfectly balanced flywheel that can spin at super high RPMs. Okay, this behind me here is a fully automated powder coating machine. So they powder coat these things to stand up to like years of outdoor abuse or something. Absolutely over the top. But yeah, this machine, they built it themselves, like $1 million of machine, and it's absolutely huge. So this is just a part of it. You can see the pieces going up on the conveyor belt, ready for the first step. And basically, the pieces zigzag back and forwards, going in all of these different acid baths or whatever, and then being sprayed with the powders. There's this window here where you can see another section of it and see them going around. But yeah, going through different phases of different acid bath dips and then being rinsed off, having powders put on them, heat applied, cooled, all that stuff. And yeah, all the pieces go in and out, zigzag all the way around and come back out the other side. I'll show you the before and after. So here you can see one of the frames for one of their unreleased trainers. But here you can see before it gets powder coated, just the raw metal color. And here, after it's nicely powder coated, 360-degree coverage, nothing left uncovered. And yeah, ready for years and years of abuse. Okay, so on the first floor, you saw the heavy cutting, the heavy machinery stuff. Now we're on the second floor for the assembly line. The assembly line was interesting to watch the trainers move down the line like clockwork. But the most interesting thing was the new case for the T600 trainer. Inspired by the way Tesla produces their car chassis, the die casting of the case reduces 46 complex parts down to just one. This makes the manufacturing process more efficient and environmentally friendly. Also, it means the body is half the thickness as before. The trainer is now just only 6.5 centimeters wide, but it's 8% stiffer. Now, the uneven design of the surface, they call this their waterfall cooling channels, and along with dual cycle negative pressure cooling system, the whole trainer can stay cooler for longer. This system reduces temperatures inside the trainer by over 20 degrees Celsius. Magene is also using a self-developed motor that allows for self-powering. It can convert the rider's pedaling energy into electrical energy to power the trainer, which means if you yank out the power cord while riding, the trainer won't disconnect from the app. It also supports road surface simulation, something that not every trainer can do. I believe Magene were the second brand in the world to have this function, so they're usually very quick to adapt to trends and meet the demands of customers. Okay, so these bays that you see here is where they test the units. So basically each unit gets put here and attached to a motor which is directly driving where your cassette would be on your bike. And basically they put it through a simulation of basically a very, very strong rider. I'm not allowed to tell you exactly what it's going through, but it's doing basically more than 1,500 watts for like 15 minutes is what it comes out to. So the computer and the motor puts it through what it knows is a fixed output. The trainer reports what it reads, and basically if what it reads and what the motor gave to it is different, it fails the QC test basically. It fails the QC test, it gets put to one side and looked at, and that's basically what they're doing here, just testing all of the functions of the motor. Here I can feel the fan working very hard. This is spitting out a lot of heat. But yeah, good to see that all of these machines is getting put through just basically a real hard breaking in and a real test of their power meter accuracy. Okay, so now we're in one of the test labs for their trainers. So all of the new models get tested in here, and also some batch testing of the current models go on in here. This is just one of a few labs. I can't show you half of the lab. I'm going to have to show you what's behind me, because they have some specialist equipment that they've built to try that replicates how people pedal and all that stuff, which is all stuff they want to keep secret. But what you can see behind me roughly is their test setups. And the one behind me, for example, is accurate to 0.2%. And so basically they use this when they have a new trainer and it has to have new firmware for like virtual power profiles. They'll use this to basically write the firmware and come up with the power profiles for it. So yeah, lots of running tests. Like I say, there's lots of equipment and lots of labs in here which we're not allowed to shoot, but just take my word for it, it's all very shiny and yeah, all very geeky. As well as the production line, the design and testing are also done inside the same building. This is obviously a huge advantage for Magene when it comes to the speed of development and troubleshooting. On the fourth floor of the building, there were multiple labs working on various products. Many of them we weren't allowed to film in, but they did let us into a few. Now, as we were walking around, we noticed two bikes set up in the lobby of the office. Being two very competitive YouTubers, we obviously decided to hop on them for a bit of an impromptu battle of the legs. Flat pedals and all.
Alright. What are we sprinting for? We only sprint for anything, it's just okay, so peak power.
Just sprint for the peak power. Let's see. I'll be looking for crack 500.
500? Okay, I want 1,000. I want 1,000.
Okay. Let's go for it.
Alright. Oh.
I got 560.
No, I didn't get it. I'm heading. Hang on, we'll give it a minute. I want another shot at that. You sprinted for longer than I did.
Yeah, it takes a while to get it ramped up. After exchanging excuses about flat pedals, running shoes, saddle heights, lack of fans, everything else we could think of, we thought we'd give it one more go.
1, 2, 3, go.
$6.10!
615. 615 is all I got. What did you see?
I didn't see any more than 3 numbers.
5 second power, 589. 5 second power, 830. Should we try some high cadence? See if the legs fall off.
All right, in flats, if you could cool down.
So let's see, ready, go.
$200.
181. Good job.
I'm still doing 200.
I think you did more watts than your sprints. You beat me on power. You beat me on cadence.
We'll go to the watts per kilo. I think we might be close there, but yeah, I got you on the cadence. I'm happy with that.
I accept defeat graciously. Go match the...
Thanks, mate. 2 down under. Rematch.
Let me get training. Australia 1, UK 0.
It's like cricket.
After embarrassing ourselves completely and getting far too exhausted for such a short workout, we decided we needed a bit of a sit down, so we sat down with the co-founder and CTO of Magene, Frank.
Okay, so we've been going around Magene, we've been seeing all the stuff they're doing here, but to get a better understanding of what's going on, I think we have to sit down and have a chat, ask some questions. I've got my notes based on what we've been seeing, but to learn more about the company and what's going on and the history of the company, I think it's best to have a sit down with the man himself. This is Frank, the co-founder and CTO of Magene. And so yeah, we're having a bit of a chat. So first of all, thank you for having us here. Very impressive facility. And yeah, thanks for inviting us both over.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
I'm curious, so I imagine for you, like every product is like one of your children. So you can't ask someone, which is your favorite child, but I'm gonna ask you, which is your favorite child? Which is your favorite product? Which product are you most proud of?
Apparently I like the trainer most because it's our first child, and I think it's the only product that I am the chief engineer.
Okay.
Yeah, and after that, all the other products we have different teams. So the trainer is my favorite.
Now, what is the hardest product that you've worked on? A particular product or a particular area that's been the most challenge to you to make?
The pedal meter. It took us 3 years to develop the algorithm. But when we were talking about the algorithm, it's actually related to so much different factors like the hardness of the spindle and waterproof.
I'm curious, roughly like how many lines of code are in a head unit firmware? Do you know?
I think nearly a million.
Oh.
Yeah.
So over the last few years, we've seen Magene expand out even further than a lot of your competitors. So it started off with smart trainers, power meters, head units. I've seen some power pedals as well, which I'm really keen to have a look at myself. And now into group sets. Is the idea to go to a full bike soon? Because we were looking at a bike in one of the R&D labs today, and there wasn't many components that weren't Magene. Is that on the roadmap potentially? Is that something you're looking at?
Now, this was actually a much longer interview and we went on to talk about many topics, but the whole thing is far too long to fit in this one video. so I'll put the full interview in a separate video below and you can check it out after the end of this factory tour. So it was time to head into the clean room section of the factory where Magene do the electronics assembly of their products.
Okay, we've changed our threads and got a new hat on because now we're in the high-tech part, we're in the power meter production line. So obviously Magene, probably pretty well known for the smart trainers, but also well known for their power meters. This was the original power meter. I had one of these. The single-sided one was called the Ridge, just a strain gauge stuck on a Shimano crank arm. And then they had the Dual Ridge, which was the two-sided one. I had one of those as well. But then after that, Magene moved on to making their own cranks and putting a strain gauge on those. Obviously, some people will know these old Shimano crank arms, the design is asymmetrical, which always meant it was tough to get accurate readings on these. So Magene solved that by designing their own cranks, which is a nice symmetrical design and makes it easy to get accurate pound meter readings off it as well. Also, obviously making it itself, they can choose what strength and what weight they want and all that stuff. As well as these, after that, Magene moved on to spider-based pound meters. So obviously spider-based pound meters, you get lots of SKUs because you've got different standards of crank spider interfaces, but you've also got different standards of your BCDs for your chain rings. So we've got a whole bunch of different options here of their spider crank meters. This looks like SRAM Axis to me. This one looks like SRAM 3 bolt, so all the different ones on there. And obviously this led into them making the QED crankset, which was their own crank arms, their own spindle with the power meter. If I'm not wrong, that's a DUB standard spindle on there. And then this one, this is probably the most popular power meter we sell on Panda Podium, so it's interesting to come see how they make it. Yeah, this is the PES 505 or the 505 base. And yeah, this is a very popular power meter because if you've already got a Shimano crankset on your bike, this is 24mm spindle and this is Shimano 110 BCD. So basically you can buy this, take your old crank out, put the chain rings on this, put this in your bike and you're good to go with an accurate power meter. So yeah, that's a very popular option on our website. Now Magene also have their pedal-based power meters. So these at the moment only available in China, but coming to the Western market next year, I believe. Yeah, so these are the 705. I believe the 715, the updated version, is the one that we're going to get in the West. But obviously pedal-based power meters, I'm a fan, so I'm looking forward to getting my hands on a pair of these as well. But Magene are one of the only brands out there that has basically every type of power meter. They've got stick-on strain gauges, they've got their own cranks with strain gauges, they've got spider-based power meters, and they've got pedal-based power meters. So one of the only brands that has the full range of power meters. These are the pedal power meters, so these are the ones that have already been assembled and they're just being tested on here. So obviously you can see they have to build all this custom equipment to test a lot of the spindles at the same time. But yeah, it's cool to see all of these solutions to getting all this done.
One super impressive piece of kit was this strain gauge bonding machine. Apparently they're the only cycling brand in the world to have one of these to apply curved strain gauges. And most brands still bond the strain gauges manually, but obviously that's not going to be as precise and consistent as an automated solution. And when you're trying to build accurate power meters, precision is key.
And then for calibrating the pedal-based power meters, they have this equipment here. So basically, you might not be able to see from there, but the pedals, the spindles of the pedals are in these machines and slowly rotating. As they rotate around, from below they're pulled down by these motors to a set force between 1 and 80 kilograms. And because this can rotate, and because this can change the amount of force, they're able to basically pull it in a bunch of situations and measure what the strain gauges are doing and then calibrate them accordingly. So yeah, that's super cool. They've got 8 of these machines, it looks like, on here that are all doing the calibrations. And then down here we have 2 of the temperature control calibrations. So this is just for calibrating the strain gauges, so the strain gauges know what reading to give out for a known force. But this is a temperature calibration. So in here we have a whole bunch of the spindles, maybe you can't see them, but they're being put through a 4.5 hour temperature cycle. So this goes as low as -10 and as high as 50 degrees Celsius. So yeah, all ranges of temperature put in there to be calibrated to make sure that no matter what weight, no matter what riding style, no matter what riding environment you're in, your pedal-based power meters are still going to be accurate. Here on the factory floor, they also have more than 40 CNC machines like this, doing the work on their cranks and their chain rings and stuff like that. So yeah, they have these raw aluminum 70-75 billets, and then 40 of these machines doing various stages of the machining. So yeah, that's how you build your crank arms, that's how you build all of your aluminum parts. And yeah, watching these machines doing all different separate parts, super interesting to watch.
With production covered, the next topic is product durability, which for Magene is a fundamental requirement for their products. They have nearly 1,000 strict testing procedures with lots of self-developed equipment to verify the reliability of products through their testing. There were machines to test the fatigue life of buttons, machines to test dropping the bike computers from a height, machines to test vibration resistance, just really, really professional stuff.
Okay, so here we are in one of the fatigue testing labs. This fatigue testing lab is focused on their power meters, so they're just testing them after years and years of use. So this particular machine here is testing this crank power meter. It's doing 1,900 newtons 500,000 times. So I think ISO 4210 standards is just 100,000 times, so this is like 5 times ISO standards. And yeah, basically just applying 190 kilos load to one of the crank arms again and again and again. And it's pretty crazy to see how much this crank arm flexes. Obviously, you got 190 kilos going through it, but if you can see how much this crank is flexing, that's pretty crazy. And yeah, on the machine here, you can just monitor like the deflection of the cranks, and it just shows you how many cycles it's can go through and stuff. So yeah, it does 50,000 cycles, we stop, look at it, and then it does 9 more cycles. So yeah, lots of fatigue testing. Here, this machine's the same, but again, can do another 4 cranks at the same time. So each time they can test like up to 6 cranks. This is for testing the strength of the actual frame of the trainer. So you can see they've got just one of the raw frames here, not powder coat or anything, so it's easy to see if it cracks or whatever. But yeah, again, this is putting massive forces through it just to see how it turns after thousands and thousands and thousands of cycles. I see they've even got strain gauges on here so I can see exactly how much force they're putting through it. But yeah, just all this fatigue testing to make sure if you buy one of these, it's going to last for years and years after cycle after cycle after cycle. This here is my good friend who's doing his best job at cycling. And yeah, so this is testing the crankset just for fatigue. It's not designed to perfectly replicate a pedal stroke, just to replicate the constant loading, unloading, constant loading, unloading, and rotating. So because they've got one of their own trainers back there, they can choose the resistance levels. But yeah, this is just putting mad watts through this crankset, loading it, unloading it, just to see where it breaks. So yeah, fatigue testing in this torture chamber. Okay, so now we're in one of the test chambers for their computers. So they do all sorts of testing here. It's going through like an RGB cycle on the screen. But in these machines here, it's more environmental testing. So this machine can do temperature and humidity. And this one here is just for temperature testing. So they reckon, you know, on a hot day of riding, it's like 40 degrees. Maybe your computer goes up to 60 degrees. This machine is set to 70 degrees Celsius, and they go in here for 24 hours. I can see they're turned on in there, and they're not allowed to have any problem. So 24 hours at 70 degrees Celsius is what that's for. Another one of the tests, so these are IPX7 waterproof. The standard for that is 1 meter depth for half an hour, and then see if anything goes in it. So let's find out. Okay, so this room is more environmental testing. These machines here are both using xenon lamps to simulate being outside for years. So apparently it's equivalent to about 5 years of being left outside in the sun. And so they're checking, I can see in here, both these machines have got their GPS computers, they've got the spiders, and they say they're checking 2 things. Number 1, does the appearance change too much? You know, you don't want your nice shiny black crank to change to a bronze color or whatever. And number 2, like the plastics can become brittle, so they're just making sure that, you know, the products that they make, the plastics will still be strong, still be durable, even after years of being left outside. Okay, now here we are in the factory canteen. Let's see what we're cooking today. Ooh, we're cooking some flywheels. No, this is, again, the salty environment, the humid environment testing equipment. So yeah, this goes in here for 48 hours and apparently can simulate about 2 years of being in a really humid environment in this salty atmospheric test chamber. Okay, now here we are in Magene's precision measurement laboratory. Lots of expensive toys in here, but basically the purpose of this place is to make sure the things that they're building or the things that they're buying from suppliers are to their specifications. So for example, this machine here by Hexagon, this is a probe measurer, and this can measure, I think it was like 1.3 micron accuracy, you know, like 1/6 of a human hair this can detect. So yeah, you load into it the CAD file of what your part should look like. It comes along and looks if that's what it looks like. And basically that's the theme of most of the machines in this room, just with different purposes. So that one's doing it by a probe. This is also by a probe, but on 2 different axes. If you've got some drive gears or something. This one is an optical scanner, but a 2-dimensional optical scanner. And again, so all of their parts, because you know they're dealing with things like spindles and caps, and you're going into bearings, so you need to make sure things are as round as they should be. So yeah, this optical scanner is for 2-dimensionals, and then this optical scanner here is fully 3-dimensional. So I can see here they've got one of their axles. It looks like a 24mm axle. Yeah, 23.799. So yeah, one of their 24mm axles, they put it in here. This laser scans it, and then basically if it's green, it's within tolerances. So you can see here, everything's green. So yeah, this part has passed its inspection. But for example, the main width of the part, their tolerance is like 0.004, but this one is just 0.001. So yeah, they're even above their own standards. But yeah, nice pieces of kit, lots of nice toys, and yeah, more equipment for, yeah, this is for measuring angles to a high degree. This is measuring textures and surfaces for a high degree. So yeah, this is their precision measurements laboratory.
One of the products I'm most looking forward to is Magene's own electronic group set. When I was at the factory, it was just about to be launched for the Chinese domestic market, so they were just putting the finishing touches on it, which means I got to play around with one of the final versions of the group set.
Okay, so here we are in another laboratory in the midst of Magene's R&D department. This laboratory is one of the ones that are developing their electronic group set. So this is their QED electric wireless shifting system. They've just been telling me about it. So you'll remember if you saw the Shanghai Bike Show video, we saw this at the Shanghai Bike Show. That was a few months ago now, and they told me it's not come out yet because they're still working on it, still trying to perfect it, getting all the small features running perfectly. So what do we have? Basically, we have the front derailleur, rear derailleur, the brakes, and the shifters. It is going to be available in rim brake format for all you rim brake fanboys out there. I know you're going to be happy. But yeah, so we've got wireless shifting, wireless communication from the shifters down to the derailleurs, and then there's a battery in the seat post providing power to the front and rear derailleurs, a system that we've seen other people using before. One feature is that you can also choose the speeds of your cassette at the back, so 10 speed, 11 speed, 12 speed. You can all set in the app, so whatever bike you've got, whatever cassette you've got, you can get it setting up. Maximum cassette size on the rear is a 34 tooth cassette, so that will be good for anyone who wants to do, you know, some climbing with a big cassette on there. They were telling me one thing they've been trying to optimize is the shift speeds. So now the front derailleur can complete a shift in 300 milliseconds. The rear derailleur can complete a shift in 90 milliseconds. I've never timed my derailleurs, but apparently that's about the same as Ultegra kind of shifting times, so pretty good. Also similar to sort of Ultegra levels is the weights of the group set. So yeah, if you add up the weights of the shifters, the batteries, the front and rear derailleur, we're on about the same weight as Ultegra. I think it was just under 1,100 grams. But yeah, we'll have more details when it does come out fully. But super slick. One feature that is pretty cool. So on the front HUDs, we've got your usual shift buttons, but we've also got like third auxiliary buttons. And because Magene now have their own ecosystem with lights and radars and all this stuff, these auxiliary buttons can control those. So you can set these auxiliary buttons to turn on your radar or turn off your radar, turn your torch on, turn your torch off, all that cool stuff. And all that works via Magene's head unit, so you have to have your Magene head unit on there too. But yeah, super cool that they're also building this ecosystem of parts, and you know, you can have your whole bike a smart bike, as it were. So yeah, super cool to hear that. Super cool that they're going to support rim brakes still. So yeah, it looks like they're doing innovation, but also looking after people who are still riding rim brakes and stuff. So yeah, looking forward to getting my hand on one of these, and I think there's one over there we can try in a minute. So yeah, let's go have a look how it shifts. So yeah, they've got one set up here to test out the shifting. I like the buttons on the shifters. The buttons feel super clicky. Rear shifting also super smooth. Even at this low cadence, going up and down the block, super fast. Front mech, big ring, small ring, big ring, small ring. If you do shift under super hard power from small to big, a bit of lag I reckon, but again, don't know how that would work with the other chain rings or whatever. But overall, yeah, this is good.
Overall, the electronic group set was really impressive. Super stoked that they're still supporting rim brakes too. Apparently, if you do buy the rim brake group set and later you decide to upgrade your bike to a disc brake bike, you can even upgrade the internals of the shifters to convert them from rim brake to hydraulic disc brake. So, you know, super cool. Apparently, battery life is also a strong selling point too. They're claiming up to 2,500 kilometers of riding between charges, which I think would make it the longest of any brand out there. So definitely looking forward to getting my hands on one of those for testing.
Okay, so now we're on the roof of the factory, essentially the 5th floor, I guess. And on total on this floor, we have over 8,000 square meters of solar panels. Yeah, I guess each one of these is one square meter, and there are 8,000 of them here. In normal conditions with the sun shining, this is more than the electricity the whole factory uses, and so they're actually able to sell power back to the local grid, which is crazy. Yeah, but it's cool to see sustainable stuff. As we saw in the factory, like they're using lots of power to do testing on stuff, and you know, cycling is supposed to be an environmental sport, so using all that power doesn't always seem quite right, but when you know the power is just coming from the sun, I think it makes it a lot cooler. So yeah, absolutely huge solar energy farm on the roof of the factory. Okay, so now we've seen how Magene make all of these products. The only thing left to do is see if we can sneak this bike into my suitcase.
That just about brings us to the end of this mammoth factory tour. I want to say a huge thank you to Magene for giving us the opportunity to come here and check out this factory. To learn more about Magene, you can head on over to their website. And of course, we are proud to be an official reseller of Magene products over on pandapodium.cc. Now, this has been a huge project to put together with hours of footage to go through and edit. If you did make it through to the end of the video and you did enjoy it, make sure you give this a like and let me know in the comments down below what factory you want me to check out next. I've put together a playlist of all my factory tours, so you can check out the other videos here.